Hello, I am Charlie Falconer. I am a Labour peer and I was the Secretary of State for Justice from 2003 to 2007. I'd like to talk about drug policy. Since the early 60s, the drug policy in the United Kingdom, reflecting most countries in the developed world, has conducted what they described as a war on drugs. And that war on drugs has involved criminalising people who sell drugs or use illegal drugs. That war has been a total failure. What's more, the war has led to a whole series of repeating deaths from illegal drug use, and the numbers go up and up each year. And interestingly enough, the country in the whole of Europe that has the highest number of drug-related deaths is Scotland. That must be the sign of a policy that is failing. The origins of the policy were United States-driven UN conventions that deprecated the dangers of drug use, coming in particular from Afro-Caribbean and Hispanic countries. So there was an underlying racism in this policy. The time has come for this policy to change. At its heart is the idea that you hand over to criminals what is a billion-dollar industry in illegal drugs. If you hand over a industry of that size and of that value to criminals, then people who need help rather than being criminalised can't get it because they fear what the state will do to them if what they're engaged in is criminal use or criminal sale of drugs. We need fundamentally to switch the approach from the idea of criminalising drugs to treating addiction to drugs as a public health issue, just as we treat alcohol addiction as a public health issue. Of course, you won't rid the world of the problem of drug addiction by making it a public health issue, but you will save a lot of lives, not just from those who die of drug overdoses, but from those who get killed in drug wars, not just in places like the UK and the USA, but in places like Mexico and other South American countries where drugs completely dominate the way that crime is dealt with in those countries. So we really need, as politicians, to set an example and indicate we will look again at these issues. We will stop it being a criminal justice issue and start it being a public health issue. It's urgent. There really needs to be change, and the politicians need to lead the way in that respect. I was as the Justice Secretary from 2003 to 2007, and before that as Solicitor General, one of the generals in the drug war. And as I became more and more involved in it, I could see the way that the drug war not only failed to help the people it was supposed to help, namely the people who were victims of drug addiction, but it also completely clogged up the criminal justice system. What the police and the prosecutors and the courts were doing was spending all their time dealing with burglaries and robberies and other acquisitive criminals who were driven by drug addiction. If we took it out of the criminal justice system and made it a public health issue, then not only would it save a lot of lives, not only would it help communities who are ruined by drug addiction, but it would also make sure that the courts could focus on different sorts of crimes that would provide much greater protection for the community.